Hi, I'm Dr. Kevin Mailo, and you're listening to the Physician Empowerment Podcast. At Physician Empowerment, we're focused on transforming the lives of Canadian physicians through education and finance, practice transformation, wellness, and leadership. After you've listened to today's episode, I encourage you to visit us at phys-empowerment.ca, that's PHYS, empowerment.ca, to learn more about the many resources we have to help you make that change in your own life, practice, and personal finances. Now on to today's episode. Hi, everybody. So the interview with Kate Post went so well, and she and I just got talking that I couldn't stop it. And so we decided to break this up into a part 1 and part 2. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed the second half of this interview with Kate Post, discussing the ins and outs of managing employees. And for those of you that follow the podcast, Kate has actually been with us before on the show. She is the Chief Operations Officer for a growing multi-location dental practice that is really, really expanding, but also streamlining operations in order to effectively scale. So Kate has been just an invaluable resource to that group practice or that expanding practice. And she comes with a lot of wisdom in terms of running one's dental practice or obviously one's medical practice. And so we've got her on the show today to talk about managing employees. So moving away from the technical aspects of the job to these personality issues. You've got somebody who, and we should have a whole separate episode on how to deal with your doctor colleagues. That's a whole other kettle of fish, right? But let's talk about an employee who is contributing to a toxic workplace culture. I mean, we could go on and on.
Right.
It could be gossip, bad behavior, any kind of thing like that, like the human dimension.
Right. So there's a couple of scenarios that I typically see. It can either be one person or it can be an entire culture. So if you have long-term employees that have been used to working with each other and they are very comfortable with each other in sharing information, they have worked with long-term patients over time, they have more comfort in, oh yeah, that's Mrs. So-and-so, and she's got, that's not appropriate. And they should not be sharing information back and forth. And so when I come across that type of thing, my team will tell you that I let it slide for a bit. And then about once a year in that type of environment, I will call the entire team out in a team meeting, not any particular people. And I would tell them, look, we all have our background lives. We all need to check it at the door as we come in. We need to not gossip. There should be no chitter chat in the sterile bay about other employees. If the day isn't going smoothly for you because of someone else, maybe their day is not going smoothly either. So have some compassion and check in with that person when you have a private moment. But we have zero tolerance for gossiping. And if you find then that there's one thread of someone that continues it, that's when I pull that person in and I have a private conversation with them and ask them just what's happening? What's happening in your life?
That's a great place to start.
Because sometimes it's that they want to be heard and they'll look for it anywhere. So it might have nothing to do with the workspace. And other times I found that it's just habit. It's just that maybe that person just tends to be perceived as someone that's a little bit more negative than perhaps what you would be coming into work in the morning. And so they have to own the fact, though, that can be toxic for some of the environment. And so if you just have a conversation with them and say, look, like when you come in and you're grumpy, you make everybody else grumpy. Everybody else is on edge. So I don't know what we need to do to work together to fix that, but we need that to stop. And then I stop talking. And then lots of times they'll say, well, I know I've been kind of off lately, or, oh, I didn't know. Some people are not aware. And so if they say, I didn't know, then I say, yes, here's an example. And you have to have a valid example. So that, again, is like more cataloging of examples of things, of behavior, to tell them this is behavior that we do not want to see. This is modeling of behavior that we are happy to see. And then when you catch them doing the proper behavior, praise them in public. And so then that gives them positive reinforcement of what your expectations are. And you too have to model the same. So if you're a provider that comes in and you're grumpy and you're grumbling about how your morning went or how a procedure went or how you don't have the instrument that you need, lots of support team are so loyal to you that they take on your persona. And so if you're mad, they're going to now be mad. Well, that's just sets the whole office off.
It's management is self-management, or at least that's where it starts.
That's right. And I find that with doctors, that if you have a really even-keeled doctor who is, not a problem, everybody has a certain expectation of who they are, and then they come in and are having a bad day, well, that just causes complete chaos.
Because very interesting, because people look to that individual,
right,
to kind of anchor the mood.
And so then when they're off, then everybody in the entire practice is like, what's going on with her today?
Wow, that's very interesting.
It
it's
is.
these things that you don't necessarily perceive when you go to work, as the doctor. So it's kind of pulling back the curtain on the inner workings of the team like this.
When you're hiring people, you don't know what kind of personalities that you're getting. And so we try to ask some offbeat questions to try and throw the person a bit to get them to open up. And so we do a multi-tier interview. So we have our warm and fuzzy manager who talks to them and finds out, all of their interests outside of work and their family dynamics and what they really love doing and why they're passionate about dentistry. And then if it's an employee where Dr. Syed happens to be in the building, he will pop in only to pointedly ask the person that's being interviewed how I am doing at interviewing them, which throws them off. The potential new employee is like, oh.
Well, no, but Saj is a great guy, right? He's been on the show.
So they don't like being put on the spot.
Yeah.
Patients will come into the practice and put you on the spot all day long. And so then it allows us to see how they react. And so it's testing the waters with people and seeing, right? So it makes a difference when you're trying to recruit somebody in and then meld them into a team as well.
So then, okay, and like I said, I already feel like we're going to have another whole episode on like the doctor dynamic amongst each other, the herding of the cats, if you will. But let's now go again. We're going to turn and pivot. Let's go to rewarding good employees, good behavior.
Sure.
Because this is, I think, again, another major issue facing all of us, in private practice is needing to recruit and retain high quality employees. How do you reward them? How do you show that they're valued? Because again, my understanding in this space is it's a lot more than just money, right? You always think you got to pay people well, but no, people stay because they feel valued.
Yes.
And that it's rewarding work in some capacity for them.
Absolutely. So we annually go through with our employees a dance of making sure that the morale is up. We read our team and know when morale is down, and immediately we're on top of it. And it's simple things. It's like take them all out for brunch. We just did that with one of our 3 practices because they more than doubled their production in the 5 years that I've been working with Sage. We've more than doubled the production. So within 6 days of that occurring, I said to Sage, we're taking them out for brunch and we're doing it quick because we need to reward them quickly. Now, could everybody show up because it was short notice? No, but they all appreciated the gesture.
It's the fact
So
that it was done.
that's right. It's that on random days, Sage will say to everybody, oh, let's just order lunch. And he brings in lunch. The associates, even they'll step in and they'll do that, which they're not owners of the practice, but they're leaders of the practice. And so they know how much that all the team works in order to keep them busy and to keep them supported all day. So they will bring in lunch. It's something as simple as that we all, if we can organize going out together, then we'll go out together. One of the ladies said to me a few weeks ago, we should organize going bowling together and just pick a day and block some lanes and everybody can just show up. So it's simple things like that, but there's no cost things that you can do. It's when you walk in the door in the morning, say good morning and mean it. Slow down and look at your team. When you're done at the end of the day, particularly if you've had any tough treatment days or just been a longer, harder day, slow down on your way out and say goodbye and thank you to everyone as you walk by. It makes a big difference to your team to feel like they are valued and acknowledged. And what I like to see is when the team are working together with a patient, if one of our hygienists points out something and brings it to the doctor's attention, for the doctor to acknowledge that hygienist. You know what, Kate? It is so good that Mary was able to bring that to my attention. She's such an amazing hygienist. Then it's reinforcing for the patient to know that you value your team and that employee, it pumps their tires a bit to have that happen in front of a patient to know that they're also acknowledged, right? Every person likes to get acknowledgement in different ways. So there's some team that I know a gift card quietly put on their desk. I'm going to get a text later and they're going to know that they're acknowledged. Some, they want like the fanfare. So for one of our ladies, she likes a big deal made out of her birthday. So we get her a banner to wear, we decorate her office, and
she knows. That's actually really beautiful.
Yeah. So it's every person requires something different. So you need to know what works for them. And some people like very public and some people like private. So they just want you to walk up and say to them, thank you. It made a difference. Or I know that your son was sick last week. How's he doing? So it's a personal connection that way. And team will tell you that yes, money is important. You can give gift cards. You can check with your accountant as to what dollar values that you're allowed to do in your region for financial gifts to your team. You can have, we just had Oral-B come in and do a big promotion with us to show us all the new fancy toothbrushes. So we all got new fancy toothbrushes. So anybody that wants an extra head, we're giving an extra head to. So it's little things like that you can give them something tangible, or you can give them something that just says thank you.
Yeah, I love that. And the other one we touched on was having people feel heard.
Yes.
That was another big one, right? Like, people who are invested in their workplace are going to have feedback and suggestions.
Right. So I just had one of our hygienists come to me this morning and stepped in. She said, I've been thinking about something that we talked at our last hygiene department meeting. And they found a really good online patient education learning module that they want to be able to show to their patients. So she said, you know what, if we brought like an iPad and we had it in the practice. We could load those on it. And then while I'm waiting for the doctor to come in for the check, I could hand it to the patient and they could play with that and look at it while I'm typing up my notes. So she said it'd be interactive for them and give them the education that they need. So would I normally have an extra $1,000 to buy an iPad? Maybe not. But I thanked her for the idea. I said, that sounds like a good idea. I can see why it would work. Let me look into it. So now I need to go and do my research and figure out if I can scrounge up between all of us another iPad to get in the practice in order to make that happen, or if I can find the funds to go out and buy one.
But somebody put a lot of thought into that suggestion. Somebody's invested in the workplace as an
Yes,
employee to come forward and say, hey, I think
that's
this would
right.
improve the practice.
That's right.
So that should be heeded very well. I mean, you don't just, I think into those circumstances, you don't just roll your eyes and go, okay, well, that's not going to be practical for this, this, and this.
That's right.
You dismiss somebody like that and they'll feel very hurt.
Well, I've had other team in the past suggest that the doctor take the entire team on a continuing education cruise in the Caribbean, completely out of budget. So it was, well, that's a no. Immediately, that's a no, because that's so out of budget. But is there something that we can do locally that we can all get together and go and do continuing education together?
Yeah.
So love the concept. We just need to tweak the delivery.
Yeah. Just drop like an order of magnitude off of the price.
Right.
You know, but
which, to give them credit, they knew they were shooting for the stars at the
hey,
time.
you know what? You don't get what you don't ask for in life, right?
That's right.
So there's nothing lost by
That's
asking
right.
for it, right? And so yeah, I feel like some of these things are very, very powerful, is just to acknowledge the people that you work with. And it seems like it's work. I think, you know, there feels like there's a lot of to-dos, but the truth is it's not, I mean, once you get to know people, it's like your patients. You know them. You know bits of
That's
their
right.
story. And you know, you may have a patient that you see for a chronic medical condition, whether it's, you know, their depression or their diabetes or whatever, or their dental care, but you're going to know bits of their personal life and you're going to want to just ask how they're doing or you know, acknowledge how they're doing.
That's right.
And the same goes with your employees. I mean, we have these big circles that we keep up with on social media. Well, I'm not really on social media, but you know that idea of like, oh, what, checking in with everybody on Facebook or whatever the kids are doing these days. But like, you can do the same for the few people that you work with, and it makes a real difference, I think, in their lives.
It makes a big difference. I mean, for a dental office and even any medical offices that I go to, they're groups of less than 12 people. So unless you're working in a hospital situation, but then you're still working with the people that are immediately in your space. So you're talking about like 6 to 12 people that you need to connect with through the week. So employees don't expect you to walk in every single day and ask them about how your evening was. That would be a bit over the top for an expectation, I think. But at least some type of acknowledgement. And even for someone like myself, like I travel between 3 practices. And so when I'm in a practice, I am pointedly doing specific tasks to that practice that day. And I might have 4 to 6 hours in that practice, and that's it. And the team are with patients during that time. So if I don't cross paths with someone, then sometimes if I'm thinking of them later, I'll shoot them a text. I'm sorry I missed you today. I hope that your day went well. And I try and do a walkabout. So I will go, and I always go in the front door of our practices because I want to see the practice as the patients do. And I say good morning to the ladies on the front desk, just like the patients would. And as I walk through, whoever I see, I'm trying to scope them out and stick my head in. Hi, good morning. I might slide out at the end of the day, but I always try to make sure I say hello in the morning.
That's very powerful.
Because it's an acknowledgement. They got out of their pajamas and they came in. They're here. and they're engaged, they're loyal to working with you and wanting to be there. And so you want to be acknowledged when you come into work too, right? It's just as if you invited someone into your home. You wouldn't have them sit on the couch and then go off and make yourself a cup of tea and come back and sit in the adjacent chair and not acknowledge.
Yeah, no, it's so true. It's so true. So I mean, this was an outstanding interview. Again, Kate, I really want to thank you for being on the show. Can we just sum up some of the general wisdom again that we touched on? Because there's a lot here, and obviously I would encourage people to actually listen to this episode a couple of times to internalize some of the wisdom here, right? Because I feel like that's the thing we really try to bring on the Physician Empowerment Show is the wisdom side to life and practice. The world's full of information and technical knowledge, but wisdom is in short supply.
Well, sure. And even wisdom is like it's part of human resources, right?
Yeah.
So it's making sure that you listen to the employee and that you know that you're not going to have all the answers. And it's not going to be easy. So it's a matter of checking in with people and making sure that they have an understanding of the expectations and that you have regular communication with them and that they're doing most of the talking.
And also really being there to say thanks, right? That
right.
Acknowledging somebody, saying thank you, showing that you care goes a long way, right? That it's not simply about dollars and cents and how much you're paying somebody.
Absolutely. It makes a big difference because then people will put in a little bit of extra effort when it's needed without even having to be asked because they're loyal and they own it, right?
And remember that your happiest employees are actually the ones that will drive ongoing recruitment and retention. That as you create a happy, uplifted work environment, word gets around, right? Whether, they're talking and bringing somebody in their social or professional circle to come and join and work, or whether the new hire gets a warm welcome and encouragement to stay.
That's right. That's right, for sure. It's a whole team effort. And when you're expanding your business and you're growing, you want more like people around you. And so we always go to our team. If we're recruiting, we always circle back to our team and say, if you have any of your friends or colleagues that are looking, we're expanding and here's the position. Because you want more like-minded people together, right?
Yeah. So, it really, again, comes from the top down. It's how is the workplace culture set by those at the top who own and operate the practice?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you so much. This was absolutely outstanding.
Well, thank you.
Again, it was just outstanding and something we simply do not hear about as physicians.
Well, that's good. I'm glad that I could share my working knowledge, and I'm happy to be able to share that with people and answer any questions that come out of it. I know that you and I kind of start these things with a bit of a plan, but human resources is such a big beast to try and break down, right? So there's loads more to talk about.
Oh yeah, no. And I look forward to covering some of these topics. So thank you so much, Kate.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to the Physician Empowerment Podcast. If you're ready to take those next steps in transforming your practice, finances, or personal well-being, then come and join us at phys-empowerment.ca, PHYS empowerment.ca, to learn more about how we can help. If today's episode resonated with you, I'd really appreciate it if you would share our podcast with a colleague or friend, and head over to Apple Podcasts to give us a 5-star rating and review. If you've got feedback, questions, or suggestions for future episode topics, we'd love to hear from you. If you want to join us and be interviewed and share some of your story, we'd absolutely love that as well. Please send me an email at kmilo@phys-empowerment.ca. Thank you again for listening. Bye.